Oh, right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. What do you want me to do? You
want
me to try again?
Actually, yeah, Malcolm can email you his toolbox.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
So, okay, so we're going to work on the Muskrat model today, and you should open your Muskrat map. And so let's get that going so we can get rolling on the Muskrat model as soon as I'm done with announcements. So I haven't yet gone in and officially changed it, but the due date for part 3 of the problem set 1 is moving because we missed 2 classes. So I'm thinking if I can finish the Muskrat model today, I'll make the Beaver model due, your draft Beaver model due next, let's call it Saturday. So if need be, you can work on it on Saturday. It's ideal if you hand it on Friday, so that, or have enough done on it by Friday that you can ask questions in class if you need to. Thursday lab is also a great time to work on it. But I'll have the draft model due Friday or Saturday, and I'll take a look at them over the weekend, get them back to you Monday so that you can finish it.
So am I behind since I haven't started anything?
If you have not started parts 1 or 2 of the problem set, yes, you're behind. And I sort of grokked earlier this week that there are a bunch of people who haven't started parts 1 and 2. But parts 1 and 2 do not depend on the Muskrat model. So I love how Malcolm, at first I could see his face, and then when I said, if you haven't started, his eyes, all I can see now is just his eyes like peeking out, like if he thinks I can see him.
It says the earliest due date is
Okay, so today is, I haven't even looked at it. So today is the date that it's.
So you're really behind if you don't do anything today.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go to, there it is.
Why was it due so quickly?
Well, we were supposed to be a week ahead of where we are.
So you didn't move the deadline? You didn't move the deadline?
I haven't moved the deadlines. And there's no reason to move the deadlines for the first 2 parts because we did them all.
What are you talking about? I haven't done anything.
No. We did the stuff that you needed to do, you needed to learn in class in order for you to do independently the rest of the problem set. Okay, so here are the 3 parts. Yes, so due Friday, March 3rd, we're supposed to be the draft model. We're not going to do that today because I haven't finished the Muskrat model. The first posts to the discussion board are due today, right? And so remember, there are 3 parts. They're all listed in short up here, and then the long instructions are down here with the links. So you're going to do a redesigned map for part 1, and for part 2, it's a discussion. So you need to look up just one peer-reviewed article about using modeling of any sort in GIS modeling of any sort in an application that interests you, and write a post, a brief post, ideally by the end of by midnight tonight, just 350 words. That's just like a couple paragraphs answering these questions. And then before I think March 11th is a Saturday, before next Saturday, you need to post a reply. Remember that? It's been a long time.
And I'm very upset right now.
Well, you don't have to be upset. Thanks to Emma, she remembered that today was the due date for like the easiest part, which is just look up a paper, read it, and write a paragraph about it.
So what?
And honestly, I won't notice if you post it tomorrow morning.
So this is just a little bit off track, but
okay.
So I'm staying after class today,
yep.
and I'm going to work on it.
Yeah.
So it works easier for me if you tell me how far to get, like, and then like I stop and then I go home. Like you tell me the finish line for today,
Okay, well, the finish line for today ideally should be that you'll want to,
Part 1 and 2.
yeah, or you want to get your post for part 1 done today. So just the first post for part 1, and then at least start, I'm sorry, your post for part 2, and at least start thinking about and looking for a map to redesign.
All right, we can talk more about it after class, I
Yep.
guess. Is that okay?
I think this is helping others as well, too.
Because like when you assign things like all at the same time, it kind of scares me.
I could break it down to more little chunks.
No, it's okay. I'll ask you again what you want me to do after class.
Okay. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why I put the due dates, you know, right on the assignment as clearly as I can. And why I have, for instance, the Beaver model, I'm having you submit a draft of the Beaver model earlier so that I can, wait a minute, draft toolbox on Google Classrooms I don't need to change these. If we finish the Muskrat model today, you should be in good shape. I don't want to push too much away because we'll end out with a big mess at the end, and I hate that. You guys need a good, 3-4 weeks of doing nothing else but your projects at the end.
March 12th is
A Sunday. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what
So
that's all about.
So should I delete my old Muskrat toolbox and put the one Malcolm?
Yes, yeah, just use the one Malcolm sent you. Thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you, Malcolm, very much. I don't know why your didn't mind it, but
There we go. This is, I'll make this Sunday.
I'll be even angrier if that happens.
Oops.
Oh, right.
And is,
I'll have to go in here.
this is a Sunday. All right. Not sure what happened there, but. I'll go in and make sure all the due dates, and you know me, if you're late a little bit, I'm just not going to notice. But I will notice if, I go to grade it within a few days of it being due and it's not there. And then I'll nag you and be annoying. My son tells me I'm very annoying.
Well, he'd know.
Yes, he would. He would. He knows exactly how annoying I am. Anyway.
The thing for the precular trees?
What?
I delete precular trees.
No, don't delete things.
Okay. I deleted something that was from GIS 1, which I still have, sorry.
Oh, well, I would leave that stuff. And for right now, we're going to move on. We need to get going on our stuff. Question? Yes, you need it. Thank you. I'm all discombobulated today. I'm going to use post. I had one of those weeks. Do you ever have one of those weeks where you can't wake up all week long?
You mean like all week every week?
And the due date will be next Monday, 11.
Is this the one you sent me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Bless you. You sound like a chipmunk when you sneeze. A muskrat. You sound like a muskrat when you sneeze.
Yeah, I ran it.
They're not real.
All right. And the attendance code is 1773. 1773 is the attendance code.
Thank you.
All right, and let me share my screen.
No, hold on. Just saying thank you to her for
There we go. And Muskrat Do you guys know the song Muskrat Love?
Nope.
I will have to at some point.
These are both added to display, but it doesn't seem like it changed much. I don't think it changed much. Is this what yours looks like?
Here, I'm going to put my Muskrat model up so you can see what the Muskrat model should look like at this point.
I don't
Come
know.
That's because I changed the symbology of the pawn select layer. Come on.
Should I, what layers should I have on right now?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
No, we're just dealing, it doesn't matter what layers you have on.
Well, I mean, it made me feel better if my thing looked like his.
Wait,
Because
yeah.
then I feel like I actually made progress.
Try running.
Try running it again?
Yeah, try bouncing.
Or the entire model.
Okay, now I'm running.
Oh, what do you know?
Oh, it's just because like trying to run on my phone.
So wait. Let me show you something. Can I
Yeah,
show, this is a good teachable moment without any panic,
okay.
because this kind of thing happens all the time. So what's going on for those of you who are watching the video is that Keenan's model had a bug last week. So Malcolm has shared his model with Keenan. So I'm gonna mimic what just happened, so that I can show how you deal with a situation like this. So let's say that I take all my stuff, all my habitat stuff, and I put it in a different folder, right? So if I go new folder, I'm going to make another, don't do this, I'm just going to show you this. And I'm going to move this stuff into the Muskrat folder. Oh, sorry, I have to, hang on, I have to close ArcMap first. Okay, so now I'm going to move all this stuff into my Muskrat folder, right? So my Scratch and my Habitat are now in my Muskrat folder. So watch what happens now when I open ArcMap. So I'm going to open ArcMap and try to open my Muskrat model. And it's super, super common for this to happen because remember that an ArcMap document and a tool store the path. They don't store a relative path. And relative path means looking for it next door. You can change settings, but ultimately it's easier if you're only going to use it on one machine to just keep everything in the same relative place. But look what's happened now. If you look at over here at my map, it's lost all the links to all my layers, right? And then let me open my model now for editing, and I can click this validate entire model. Watch what's going to happen. So it's going to say, hey, is everything ready to run? And it's going to be looking for, see this, the layers in the original path, not the new path. And so if I try to run it, so let me try and run this, error, it can't open it because it can't find it, right? So here's what you do. You need to fix, so let me go ahead and validate that again. You need to fix both the model and the map. And so here's what you need to do. Well, first, Keenan, you still have your layers, right? So you don't need to worry about the layer part. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to take the layers that were outputs from my model and I'm going to remove them because I'm just going to make them again. So I'm going to remove everything that's an output. So all I have left here is the inputs. And now there are two ways to clear an exclamation point and tell it where to find the data. One is to open the properties window and go to source and choose set data source, right? And so now I can go in here and find in the habitat folder the source. The other way, which will clear all of them at once, so it's pretty handy. So watch carefully what I do. I can just click any one of these, as long as they're in the same folder, I can click any one of these exclamation points and it automatically opens the set data source window for that. That's the stream slope layer. Here it is in my new habitat folder, right? So it's in this new habitat folder that I've got.
What about an exclamation point?
So you don't have the exclamation points. I do, because I messed the whole thing up, both the model and the map. Your model has the problem, right?
Okay.
So wait for a sec. Let me finish talking about what's going on in my map. Then we'll fix the model. So here we've got all of the layers. Notice I only set the source for the stream slope layer, right? But all of the other exclamation points are cleared. And if I minimize my model, I can see them all, right? They're all here now. Whereas before it couldn't find them, right? So I've got all of that back now. Now the model, and Keaton, this is where you need to, what you need to fix. So if you go to model properties, and remember where we set, you go to the environments tab and remember where we set the workspace was here, right? On the environments tab. Just leave the checkboxes as they are, but click values right here.
I'm just saying, I only have 2 check boxes.
If you scroll, you should see all 3.
No, I just have 2.
Okay, so make sure processing extent, raster analysis, and workspace are checked.
Oh, hold on. One of them was a different color than the other.
Oh yeah, one is grayed out. Yep. And now click values.
Okay.
And we don't need to worry about the processing extent and raster analysis. We'll leave those as they are. It's the workspace that we need to change. So click workspace and notice this is looking at my old path. I need to set the workspace and the scratch to my new path. So I'm going to click the little browsy button, go find my new.
The top round button?
Yep. I'm going to go find my new Muskrat folder, click on it, and click add. And then I need to go find my new scratch folder. Go find it
Go.
and click add. So probably it's in your workspace.
Yeah, I'm looking at my workspace. I can't find the toolbox though.
You're not looking for the toolbox, you're looking for the workspace for folder.
Workspace folder? Okay.
So look up here, Keenan. I clicked here, right? And the path that I'm using is folder connections. There we go. Workspace and my GIS 330, right? I don't know where yours are stored, but I'm storing everything in my GIS 330. And I have a new folder called Muskrat that I need to choose. For you, yours is whatever Muskrat folder you have.
Okay, I'll find Muskrat. There it is.
Okay,
Outside
so just
my workspace.
outside your
No,
workspace.
it's outside. It was inside my Keenan folder.
Okay, that's good. So just click on it one time and click add. And then ideally within that should be your scratch. So if you open the little browsy button and search again for your scratch folder inside that Muskrat folder, click scratch and click add. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, now we'll click OK and OK to apply it. I'll save. Now, you will need to go to each tool just real quick, and some might have changed and others might not. So you probably need to go through and change these to the right scratch folder. Muskrat.
Every single one, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and this is going to be best pond select 2. And I'm adding a 2 to each of the names just to make sure that it will run. Good, pond select 2. And save. Okay. Euclidean distance. Again, going back to that scratch folder, and here is best pond dist 2. See that I'm adding a 2 to every name so that it doesn't get all freaked out because the layer already exists.
Do I need any check marks in any of these bubbles?
Checkbox and bubbles.
Checkbox in the different tools?
Hang on, I don't know what you're talking about. So let me finish doing this, and then I'll come over and see what you're referring to.
For like things like processing extent, random numbers and stuff.
Oh, you're still in the properties. No, that's why I said only 3 checkboxes. Yep. So just click OK, and then do what I'm doing now.
You're going to say reclassify?
So wait. So I went to here, model properties. We did all this stuff. I want you to click OK.
Yeah.
And then now you need to go to each tool, right? So I double click here, and then I want to make sure, so before I started this, the path was wrong. So I needed to find the correct scratch folder and make sure I selected the right scratch folder.
Right, because this scratch folder says it's Malcolm's.
Yep. So you need to change each one. And Malcolm, if you're following me, maybe you can help Keenan.
Why won't clicking on the scratch folder do anything? It won't like.
You have to open the scratch folder. Let's see, where am I? Best pond reclass 2.
It doesn't bring out like name.
All right, I'm going to save. All right, let me come in.
This is how inept I am with computers.
That's self-talk. That's not helpful. There's no such thing as ineptitude. There's just bad self-talk. Click cancel here so I can see where you're at. Okay, so you're in. Click cancel here. Validate. Okay. Okay, now double click that. And okay, so that's going on. Let's click that. And scratch. Muskrat, scratch, double click. Okay, now this is going to be best pond select dot shape. Okay. And you can click yes, but it won't matter. Now put a 2 between just before the period or two. And click OK. Same thing here. And this time it's going to be good pond select. Yes.
That's not good pawns, it says pawns. Sorry.
Oh, change the name to good. There you go. Good, and click OK. You won't need the 2 because it doesn't already exist. Double click. And here, you're in the scratch folder and change that to, wait, here, click cancel. Okay, now click that browser button. I want you to notice something. It's already in your scratch folder. Just give it a name. And so this is going to be bestponddist.tip.
Thank you.
Yep.
For some reason, Euclidean distances.
Okay.
Disconnected. Disconnected.
Right click on that. Oh, it's not really connected.
Oh, it's just.
It's just to the output direction master. Move this Euclidean distance. Yeah, but it's, so you get your pointer tool. Now move this Euclidean distance tool away. See?
Oh, there it is.
So I did that, now I click
Did
OK,
you- Yeah, yeah. Okay.
and then this
And
one,
this one, yes, you go. It's already in the, it's already in the scratch folder. We call it good pondist. Gotcha. Save,
wait,
save, and okay. And reclassify, and, yep. And this is gonna be best pond RCLS for reclass.tif.
yes. Dot tip, right?
And then the next one, the other reclass is gonna be
Good
good
pond.
pond. You all set? All right. Okay, I think we're almost there. We're almost ready to get going. All right, guys. Let's review where we were. So we've got one set of trains, right? Where, oh, and I can, so we've got one set of trains that is about the ponds, right? But we also need another set of trains that works with the stream slope layer. And fortunately, it's pretty easy. For one thing, we only need one, there's only one group of streams that will work, which are ones with a 0 to 2% slope, right? And so if we go back to our map over here and we open the stream slope attribute table, you can see the average slope that's in percent, right? And so you can see there are some that are greater than 2 and some that are less than 2. And so we're going to next make a train using that stream layer. And fortunately, the stream layer will need a selection and we'll do a Euclidean distance and a reclassification. So it's going to be super easy. So first of all, bring the stream slope layer in, rename it streams, and then let's do this. Select all of one of the pond trains. It actually doesn't matter which you choose. So see how I have handles on all of them? I'm going to copy, just right click and choose copy. And then right click in the white space and choose paste.
So I got the stream slope. Now
Yep. Select this one whole pond train. Let me do it again. So watch this, watch how I do it.
Yeah, I do that.
Yep, okay. And then right click on any part of it and choose copy. Then right click in any of the white space and choose paste. You can move this whole train down now and notice it's got everything's labeled with a 2. Here, I'm going to make my output direction raster tiny and frowny
Some
face.
are labeled with 3 for me.
Yeah, some of them will be labeled 3, like the Euclidean distance is labeled 3. So we'll fix that in a minute because obviously this isn't going to be ponds, this is going to be streams. So what we need to do now is take the streams and make them the input for this train, and then just change the names of the tools and the outputs for each of the layers. Okay, does that make sense what we're doing? Okay, so I'm gonna there are 2 ways. You can click on the arrow and right click and choose delete. Or you can just use your connect tool. Watch what happens when I use the connect tool. I'll click on the streams and then this selection tool, and I say input features, and it switches over, right? Works either way. So now I can just get my pointer tool and I can open the select tool, and now it's got the streams and it's making the output be something that's not useful. So I'm going to change the name. I don't even need to change the where it's going. I just change the name. Instead of Good Pond Select, I'm going to make it Stream Select. And then under the expression, obviously I don't need area acres, I need the slope. So I'm going to click that SQL button. And I'm going to clear the expression that's in there, and I want to go to that average slope. So write a query that will select pond streams with average slope less than or equal to 2. Malcolm?
So I'm getting an error saying that input features data set streams does not exist or is not supported.
Huh. Okay, I'll come over and take a look. So while you guys are working on your query.
So do I click this and then?
Your streams layer is not really there, so close that one, your streams.
Yeah, it wasn't this one. Should I just try?
Yeah, actually, let's, right click on that choose do selected. There's a to layer sign. All right, everything's selected.
That was so
Layer selection. Sometimes
oh, you mean like my layer selection?
Oh, no, it's not selected. It's just that's fine. Okay, so it does exist. Go back to your model again. Sorry about my butt. It's okay. So, I'll give you some features. Okay. No. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea why.
So I changed
It might have, you might have just mistakenly chosen something other than input.
Oh, I think it's because I renamed the input to streams. I didn't actually just rename the.
Oh yeah, no, you have to rename only the output. Yeah.
Oh, that,
Yeah, if you rename the input, then it won't recognize it.
right, that's what.
Right, so the output should be named good stream select.
It could just be Stream Select because we're only going to have one. We're not going to have 2 trains in the stream train. Okay, so the expression is average slope less than or equal to, and I just type the number 2. Is that what everybody got? Great, and I click OK.
Extra less than or equal to what? Like what?
Less than or equal to 2. Average slope less than or equal to 2.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So click OK. I'm going to change the name of the tool itself to be select slope less than or equal to 2. I can also change the output name to streams select. The Euclidean distance tool name can stay the same, but remember I have to rename the output, very important. So I'm going to open that up. Don't rename the input, just the output. And here I can just call it streamdist.tiff. Streamdist.tiff. I can click OK. Now we've got enough going on here to run it. So I'm going to run through this through this Euclidean distance in this train. I'm just going to run this tool. You can see my model since I changed the where everything's going. It hasn't been run, so the shadows are all gone. I'll deal with that later. But for right now, I'm just going to run this Euclidean distance tool because we need this layer to exist before we can reclassify it, right? It won't be able to tell it what it's reclassifying if it doesn't exist. So if I run the Euclidean distance tool, it will automatically run anything upstream of it. So it will run this slope tool, I mean the select tool, and then Euclidean distance. So I'm just going to right click on that one tool and click run. You did. Okay, so if it says your SQL statement is incorrect.
Because there's a space between the sign and the equal sign.
Yes, yeah. So if you put a space between the less than or equal to, so if I make a space there and I click OK and I try to run it, it won't execute it. So you need to have, usually it doesn't recognize spaces, but in the case of a less than or equal to sign or a greater than or equal to sign, it's made of the two, so they have to be next to each other. So click OK.
Okay, I've got the germ. That's good.
Yay. All right, and so let me run this again. There we go.
Oh, yours has like veins. How do I get veins?
So one thing about comparing what your map looks like with what somebody else looks like is that each one of us is manipulating the map to look however way we want, right? So if your map doesn't look precisely like someone else's map, it's not because you necessarily have done something wrong. It's because you haven't thought about what you're supposed to see and what you're supposed to do and moved layers, turn them on and off, move them up and down to see what you need to see, right? And we'll come back to that. For now, don't worry about what your map looks like at all. Just don't even worry about it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so now, oh, I need to change the name of this output. The good pond distance 2 needs to be changed to stream distance. And save. Now, the reclassify tool should be ready to recognize what I've got. So I'm going to double click that. And notice that the values can be the same, right? The distance values that work for the Muskrat work the same with ponds and streams. So if you chose the good stream distance, the values, the output values, the new values should be 3, 2, 1, and 0, right? If they're, what did we say, 6, 4, 2? For the other ones, if they're 6, 4, 2, change them to 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, and then make sure you change the name of the output to stream reclass, RCLS.
How did you get to that point? Reclass it up.
Yep, double click this reclassify button. Make sure this says 3, 2, 1, and 0.
Yep, and then no data.
And no, yeah, and then no data. And then make sure the output is called something like streamreclass.tiff.
And what is like the stream distance we just did?
That's right. Yep, the input is the stream distance that we just did. Yep. Make sure that you also rename the output layer, and that should be called stream dist reclass. Just notice on my model, the output of a good pond reclass hasn't been renamed, so I'm going to do that. Good pond reclass. All right, and then save it and run it. I'm going to run my whole model now. And if you get a glitch, no worries. One of the reasons why modeling is so useful is that you get information in this little box about what's going wrong and why. right? It tells you where it stopped. You can tell also by looking at where you do and don't have shadows. But it sounds like everybody ran. Awesome. All right, so does everybody have a model that looks kind of like this?
Hold on.
Okay.
Renaming one more thing.
Okay.
And the existing name is already used by another element in this model. Okay. Oh, it's because I didn't put the word dist in it? I thought I did. There's one I didn't. Stream. What? Stream. Dist. Reflex. Is that this name is already used by another element in this model?
Let me see.
Stream.
Wait, stop.
I was going to try stream distance. Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's not a reclassification, that's just
Why is that
stream
there?
distance.
Why is that
So
there?
click, yeah. Rename. That's just stream distance without the reclass. There you go. That's good. There, now that should be open.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So we got one more lodge building train to make. And in this case, right, so muskrats like to, I'm going to move my mask off to the side because I need one more lodge building train. In this case, it's pretty straightforward. I'll go to my map. If we look in the wetlands layer, turn that on. The estuarine areas are suitable for muskrats, and they will build lodges in estuaries. That's a difference. That's something that beavers do not do. In fact, one of my favorite memories, did I tell you about sailing on the Clearwater in the Hudson River? So this is how I learned that muskrats like estuaries, to build lodges in their estuaries. So we were sailing on this big, giant wooden sailboat that I used to work on. And we were sailing against the current in the Hudson River estuary and against the wind. So we had to tack and go back and forth from one side to the other in this long stretch of river. So we spent hours doing this, back to one side, back to the other, and it's a beautiful day, just like fall day with just amazing colors and leaves all over. It was absolutely beautiful. And the slope at the bank of the river is really steep. So we'd like be able to get right up into just about touching the trees with the bowsprit and then tack. And we did it probably 100 times that day. And many times during that tacking back and forth, we'd come right up to the edge of the river, just about to the bank, and there'd be some muskrat like losing it, going, ah, what's going on? And like you can see their eyes get really big because you're really close to them, and they like flop down, and you can see them crawling into little holes in the bank of the river. And so that's how I learned that muskrats like estuaries. So we want to select the estuaries. And we can see that there are some here by doing something like this, where I'll give it like a bright red. It doesn't matter if you do this. I just want to show you that there are actually quite a lot of estuaries here for muskrats to use. So what we want to do now is create a train that does all of this to just the estuaries. So I'll let you guys give that a try. I'll give you a couple minutes. You give it a try. My advice to you is to do the copy thing and then change each of the elements. The more thorough you are about changing the layers, the names of the tools, and the names of the outputs, the easier and more smoothly your life will go over the next few minutes. So you're going to use, as the input, it's going to be the wetlands layer, and I want you to make a train like this.
It's the same distance.
Same distance, yep. Because the same, the same sort of parameters work, which is the distance is how far they'll go for food.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'll give you a few minutes and I'll show you how to do it.
Why didn't estuaries show up in my table of contents?
Probably because if you don't see estuaries showing up in your table of contents, it's probably because you haven't changed the symbology for the wetlands. Yeah, and so notice too, I'm using the definition field. That's where it says estuarine. Definition field. In truth, there's more to their preference. So not all of that estuarine wetland would be suitable because they prefer a specific type of estuarine wetland. But for right now, we're not going to distinguish those in the interest of time. Where is it? There it is. So those of you watching this recording, so far we spent a lot of time fiddling. This is a very common sort of workflow for messing around with models. Oh, look, other people are there. Emily and Emma are there. I didn't know you guys were with me. That's right. So was I, actually. We're about to add a little bit more complication to it.
Yeah, why would you screw everything up while I try and do this the whole round?
What?
If I had to screw, like, am I making this harder for myself? I'm screwing it all up.
Are you screwing it up?
Possibly.
Okay, let's remind ourselves about the heuristic problem solving method, which is how we do GIS, right? We're not afraid of making mistakes. We expect to make mistakes.
I'm not even at the point where I can make mistakes yet. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, ultimately, making mistakes is how you learn what you're doing. I purposely, just while you guys are fiddling, I'm gonna harangue you. I purposely require you and put you in situations where you do make mistakes. Think about it this way. If I walked you through making a model where everything worked perfectly every time, what would happen when you went off to do it on your own?
You'd expect it to always go well.
That's right. You'd expect it to always go well, and what will happen instead?
Sometimes it won't.
Yeah, very often, literally always, there's something. There's some problem. Always. And so the trick is not to not make mistakes. It's never been, even from the beginning, even when you were doing the first couple little things in GIS 1, it's not about not making mistakes. It's about learning from your mistakes, right? And having a critical eye toward what's going wrong. All right? So thinking about and understanding why we're doing what we're doing, that's the key.
Okay.
All right?
So I've dragged the wetland into the model.
Yep. Did you
And then-
make a copy of one of the other trains? Maybe the stream train might be a good one to copy.
Stream train, like steam train.
So we have 3 trains right now in our model, right?
Sorry, that was a terrible thing.
If that was, I'm sorry, it was a terrible joke. So have most people got their new train in there? You think you've redone it? Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to do it, and that way if you've missed something, you can pick it up. So you can follow me and use your following to check up on yourself. Okay, so I brought in the wetlands. I'm going to take the whole stream train except for the input, and I'm going to make a copy of it. So I selected that whole train, and I'm going to choose copy and paste. There it is. And get rid of this stupid thing, sad frowny face. Put you over here. Okay, and now I want to connect my wetlands layer to this, the select tool as the input feature, and it should replace, and it did. Now I'm going to open that, and I'm going to change the output name to, I'll call it estuarine. You don't have to use the same name that I have, and I'll call it estuarine select. I'm going to change the SQL query, and I don't need this slope query, so I'm going to use definition instead. I'll get unique values, and there's my estuarine, so I definition equals estuarine. Okay. You can, one thing you can do here, if you want, is to verify. So I can click this and it'll say, yep, that works. That expression won't throw any errors. And I'll click OK. I'll rename this out, the tool itself, rename estuarine, or select, sorry, select estuarine. And I'll change the name of the output to estuarine select. Euclidean distance can keep its name.
You need stream select?
Did I?
You said stream select.
Oh yes. I changed. Yeah. So I may have misspoken. And the output for the Euclidean distance now. So I'm going to change the name of the output for the Euclidean distance in here to estuarine dist. I'll rename the bubble estuarine distance. Now remember, this layer needs to exist before I can reclassify it. So I'm going to need to run these two. And so I'm going to save my model, save, and I'm going to run the Euclidean distance, which will also run the selection. And close, and now I've got shadows on those 4 elements. Now I can open the reclassify button, a tool. I don't need to change the values because they're all going to be the same, but I do need to change the name of the output, and that's going to be estuarine reclass, estuarine rcls.tif. Okay, I'll rename the bubble, and that will be called estuarine. I really am having a hard time spelling that today. Distance reclass. There we go. And I'll save that, and I'll run that. And click close. I'll zoom to my whole layer. So you should now have 4 trains.
For the first one, what you put on the expression, estuarine equals.
It's It's
Definition.
definition equals estuarine. Yeah. So use the query builder. That's going to make your life a lot easier. Yep. So you can clear the existing query before you start.
Okay, I have so many things in my table of contents. Am I supposed to be getting rid of some of that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what do we actually need some kind of,
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, one thing I often do is I will, oh, and I made a, run this again. So one thing I often do is every so often, oh, wait, before I finish here, okay, estuarine reclass, that's good. What don't you like? It didn't like something.
It's just you need to inform the liquidity distance first.
I think I already did it. Which is weird. Okay, well, it reran again. Let's see if that'll help. Error executing function. I want you to notice how incredibly helpful this is. Be able to create raster data set. Okay, so it's not really terribly helpful. It does not like, for some reason it doesn't want to make that that layer. So I'm going to give it a new name, see if that'll work. Run. There we go. All right. So the question was, what do you need in your map? And ultimately, that's up to you, right? One of the things that I commonly do is I will go through my whole model and remove the add to display checkboxes. If you've had any sort of dither, some of the layers might end up remaining in your map, which is okay. You can just go through and delete them. So right now I have only the inputs, right?
Oh, right. We want to get rid of the things like in the middle.
Yes, the intermediate layers, exactly. Well, we want to remove the intermediate layers. And it's actually a good time to do that because we're going to do the next step of the model is to essentially consolidate all of these lodge habitat parameters into one little chunk, right? So we now have 4 separate outputs: best pond reclass, good pond reclass, stream dist reclass, and estuarine dist reclass, right? Before we do that, it might be helpful to make a group layer out of our inputs so we can collapse them and just make them disappear when we don't need them. So let's do that. So to do that, make it so you can see your table of contents. If you click the first layer, then hold down your shift key and click the last layer, then right click on any one of the layers and choose group. You'll get a new group layer, and I'm going to rename that, so just pause and then click it again. I'm going to call it inputs. Common when I'm working with models to make group layers of each little piece.
So those layers you have right there are probably the only ones I want.
Yes, stream slope, ponds, land cover types, wetlands, and mask. Yep, the 5 that we began with.
So no land cover.
And we can.
I actually can't even read that. My eyesight is so bad.
Really?
I can like kind of see it, but it's very hard to distinguish between things that look the same. I see stream slope, ponds, land cover types,
yep,
wetlands, and mass.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
So once you have your inputs collapsed together, you can, or grouped together, you can turn them all off, and you can click the little plus negative sign next to them to collapse it, so it just appears as one item in your map. See that? So that's super handy.
Okay, I've got the 5 things. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. So, and again, to group them, just click on the first one, hold your shift key down, click on the last one. then right-click on any one of them and choose Group. You can rename that to Inputs and turn it off and collapse it. So it's just one little item. Now take the 4 outputs and add them to your map. So just right-click on each one and choose Add to Display. You can minimize your model, and you can look at each one individually and notice that first of all, they come in with really random colors, which doesn't matter at this stage. But for each one, take the 0 and make it no color. Just right-click on it and choose no color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I heard.
Is something buzzing over there?
He heard a beep beep. I heard a buzz.
Oh. So, and you can turn them all off and then turn them on one at a time. So best pawns reclass, and then good pawns reclass, stream dist reclass, and estuarine dist reclass. So each one of those represents one type of lodge building habitat, and then the distances represent the, closer is better, more likely to see muskrats, and farther away is less good. And then out to a certain distance beyond that, the white that you're seeing in your map is just no can do, right? So if you turn them all on, you can even see, let me zoom in here, you can even see that some of them overlap. Let's see, I think this won't be. So yeah, so here's some streams, right? There's some streams. There's some good ponds, and there's some best ponds. And so I have some of all 3 overlapping. So we need to do something to collapse this into a coherent single layer. What?
I don't think I'm anywhere near yours.
Neither am
Oh, well, you're supposed to stop me so I can help you.
Well, I just noticed, because I just kind of get a pink blob when I do this.
Oh, all you have to do is right-click on the zeros and choose no color.
For all the zeros?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
I only have zeros. I have lines and squares. Just lines and squares. Over on the table of contents.
You haven't added?
Yep, I have.
Right-click, add to display. It's not there, so unadd, so uncheck add to display. So do it again, add to display.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then do that for all of them.
Yep.
Why did that, thank you, why did that happen?
It's because you had removed it from the display but hadn't unchecked it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, so our next step requires a little muscle in the brain. Yes.
My best pawns and my good pawns are exactly the same.
Ha.
I'm not sure why.
Let's see, best pawn. Okay, so let's go to your model and go all the way to your select. And so let's check.
Is this how yours looks? Like when you check everything?
Okay, no,
Oh,
sorry.
wait, hold on, sorry.
And,
Is this what yours looks like? Check everything, check?
Everything checked.
and have you
Yeah, but
Just different color?
click cancel?
Yeah.
And
Okay, so I'm
and go ahead and validate your model and run it the whole time again. It may have been.
I think I might have,
Run and
just
then
have to-
validate it. Okay.
put everything
You might
in
need to
a
run
layer.
that to see what the next one.
just so that's what we do.
I grouped all this stuff into one layer.
Yeah. Ah, that's true. Okay, so
Oh,
now
cool.
let's see what you
That's it. That's it.
This is in class. Okay, if you click close, it'll show which.
Oh, so like all these, like,
So I think it was this
then
one.
go down with this.
Mine's kind of strange, 'cause it's not like showing.
So these 4 things.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Group.
Right behind the wall.
I'm also not sure.
What's that?
Yours is showing. Things minus.
There's something I think. So
Well, actually,
It's only showing one at a time.
okay, so that failed to execute.
I don't even change. Okay, I can do this. I can remember.
One, two, three.
Why don't you just add 2 at the end of that, so that there's a problem.
Name it out, right?
Yeah. Trying to take the big one. Yeah. We're trying on the other ones. Okay, close that. Sometimes it gets all confused. And then remove them from display and attachments. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the trouble Emma had was that her model, she had run the model at one point before, sort of between changing the selection, right? So I think one had already been run and she changed it and it didn't run it again. So it's a good idea very often to just go ahead and click that validate entire model. It'll delete your intermediate data and then you can run it again. Because it sometimes, and this is not always, but sometimes it doesn't notice when you make changes. Okay, we set? Okay, here's what we're gonna do next. We need to use now a different kind of tool called a logic tool. So this is a logic function that we're going to be making. And if you think about, let's see, I don't have an example. So I want to just look at the ponds alone for right now. So scooch around in your view and find a place where the bubbles representing your good ponds overlap the best ponds. So there are some places, I've got one right here, where these are the best ponds and those are the good ponds. Now imagine you're a muskrat and you are hanging around, let's say right here, right? And there's some ideal ponds right here and some meh ponds. Assuming they're unoccupied by other muskrats, which one are you going to choose?
Best.
Yeah, you're going to choose the best. So you're more likely to see them in the best places, right? And associated with the best ponds than you are with the good ones. So that's an assumption we're going to make. And there are always lots of assumptions you make in model building. And so it may or may not be valid, but that's an assumption that we're going to make. So what that means is we need to find a way that creates one layer showing the suitability based on ponds, where anywhere there's a cell that, that occurs in both layers with a value that's not 0, we choose the best pond layer. Now there are lots of different ways to do this. There are other ways. So we can actually say if the value is higher or whatever, right? There's lots of different ways. So for instance, we could make it so that if there's a 2 here and a 3 here, we would choose the one that has the 3, right? But for today, we're just going to choose whatever has a value of not 0 in best. We're gonna keep that value. See what I mean? So in the end, once we're done with this, we'll actually look at this. In the end, the good ponds will appear like this, right? Where the values in the good ponds will be overridden by the best ponds wherever there are suitable best ponds. So we need to use a tool that works on, that answers a question based on logic, right? Where we're going to say, okay, tool, visit each cell and compare these two layers. And wherever one condition is met, choose this value. And if that's not met, choose this other value. Okay? So we're going to use a tool called the con tool. Here's the question we're going to ask this tool to answer. This is how we're wording it. If the best ponds reclass layer, the value in the best ponds reclass layer is 0, use the good ponds reclass, right? If not, use the best ponds.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're going to need this con tool, which stands for conditional, and there's an input conditional raster, which is going to be our best pond, right? So that's the if case, or the if question that we're asking. If best pond value equals 0, then, so if that's true, use the value that you find in the good ponds layer. If it's not equal to 0, use the best ponds layer. Okay, and so there's the if true and if false case, and then in the output. So that's how we're going to configure it. So we need our model again, and you're going to want to, I'm going to use my hand tool and scooch all the way over so I can see both the best pond and the good pond reclass. And then you want to go to your toolbox to find that con tool. You can search for it, of course, but it is in the Spatial Analyst tools. And let's see, what is it called? Condition. Yes, conditional. There it is. Yep. We're not going to use all of these, but we're going to, for today, we'll just use a con tool. So I'm going to drag that con tool in. So it's under Spatial Analyst, Conditional, Con. And I'm going to configure it so it looks like this. So the input conditional raster is the best ponds reclass. I'm sorry, is that right? Yep. Yes, best pond reclass. So I'm going to take my my connect tool, best pond reclass, connected to the con, input conditional raster.
Best pond.
Yep, and it's again, you're going to connect it.
Connect that to con.
Yep, as the input conditional raster.
Okay, so right. So best pond reclass is the input conditional.
Yep, yep. And then notice that we want good pond to be the input true raster. In other words, if the value equals 0, use the good pond number.
It says can only connect a variable to a process.
I think that's probably because you're trying to connect a tool instead of the layer.
Oh, do I need to drag a new layer in?
No, so watch up here. So I've got my best pond reclass and my con tool, right?
Yeah.
And then I use my connect tool and I click on the green thing first.
Oh, green first. Okay.
Yep, green first, and then input conditional raster.
I thought I thought I was doing the other way around.
And then we want the good pond reclass to be the input true raster. So good, put that in, input true. And then we need one more variable to go in, which is what?
Input false.
Input false, exactly. And that's going to be the best pond again. So you're going to connect it the same way as you did to make it the input conditional. Just click on best pond again, con, and then this time choose false. And you'll have 2 arrows. See that?
Can you back up?
I can back up as far as you want me to.
Like The input fall faster constantly.
Okay, so I'm going to connect best pond as the input conditional.
Yeah.
I'm going to connect good pond as the input true. And then best pond again as the false. Yep. Now it's got its color, but we still haven't told it how to make how to test the condition, right? We need to give it a little query. So once you have those 3 arrows going into it, you need to open the tool and notice that the expression is blank, right? We need to change that. So I'm going to click on the SQL button here. And what I'm saying is if the value is 0, that's the condition. So value equals, you can get unique values if we want, but you can just type 0. So if value equals 0, that's the condition. And then I'm going to name the output. What did I name it before? Let me just check my notes here because I want to be consistent.
Try to check the value for 0. It's putting out the / after.
What?
Yeah, like every time I use the SQL to make a thing, I do value equals 0, and then when I put it in under the expression, it always puts /.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Like I promise I didn't type it. Oh, now you're over here. I looked at it 3 times.
See, if I told you that nothing ever went wrong or could be weird, yeah, that's funny. I would anyway, I don't know where that came from. I'm going to name the output here pond values. .tiff.
In Scratch, right?
In Scratch, yep. Pond values.tiff. I'm going to save my model. Oh, I shouldn't rename the output bubble pond values.
Mine's already called pond values up there. That's weird.
Yeah, so once you rename, the first time you rename the output inside the tool, it will rename the bubble. I'm just renaming mine so it looks nicer. I'm going to save it and I'm going to run that. And I'll click close. Once it's run, add it to your display and examine the results. And again, you might want to change the 0 to no color.
And do we need to so that's gonna generate more stuff from all the old streams trains as well, right?
It won't unless you validate the model first.
Okay.
So you don't need to bother about that. Okay, so here I have it. I've got one layer that shows the values, right? So, and it selected the best pond values over the good pond values, right? So I have this little bump right here. If I turn it off, you'll be able to see that that was part of the good pond, right? And so now it's incorporated all into one layer. Is everybody clear on what we just did?
Right, it's like merged.
Exactly. All right, so that's the hardest thing we're going to do this whole time.
So does that mean that's why they just took away my other pond values and gave me one pond value?
Could be. Sorry, that's my ringtone. I forgot to shut my phone up.
No, you should still have the old ones once you got rid of them.
And we can take a look at them afterward. Let's do one. I want to finish at least the lodge values today. And fortunately, we're in the really easy last piece, which is we're going to add all of the values now. So we've got pond values, we've got stream distance values, and we've got estuarine distance values. Now we need to add these all together to make one lodge value layer. Okay, so to do that, you need to go back into your toolbox. It's super straightforward. And which tool set do you think we need if we're going to add them all together? It's going to be math. Yep. Yeah. So, and we're going to need 2 plus tools. And so I'm going to add 1 plus tool and then another plus tool. And so the first plus tool is going to add the values from pond values and stream distance reclass. You can use your connect tool. Click on pond values first. Input 1. Stream is input 2. We can open that, and this is pond plus stream. You can't use the plus sign here, or you shouldn't.
So pond value goes to plus, and then stream distance reclass goes to the same plus, or a different
That's
plus?
right. So this is going to add these 2 layers together, right? The assumption that we're making here, we're laying these layers on top of each other, right? The assumption that we're making here is it's better habitat if there are multiple choices for them to build lodges. So we're adding together all the overlaid.
Okay. So what are we going to do with the second plus tool?
You'll see.
So we run it.
Yep. So first I'm going to rename the output here to pond plus stream dot tiff.
Hold on.
And I'm going to rename the bubble pond. Here I can use the plus sign, plus stream values.
Okay.
And what do you suppose we do with this other plus tool?
Do the other.
Yeah, so take the stuff we already added together and add that to the estuarine values. So pond and stream values becomes input 1. Estuarine reclass becomes input 2. Same dealio. You got to open it, rename things. You get the idea. And so, but here, this is the last of the lodge output. So I'm going to name this lodge values.tiff. I'll rename this lodge values. I'm going to save this sucker and I'm going to run it. Close. I'm going to add that maybe to my model, to my map. I can remove all the reclasses now. I don't need those anymore. I also don't need the conditional raster anymore. I can remove that. Now, this looks pretty crazy, but it's going to look less crazy in a sec. So notice we have 0 to 12 as possible values. I'm going to symbolize it, do my symbology. I'll just do a classified with, let's call it 4 classes. And I'll choose some graduated sort of color scheme. I'm also going to make this 0 class clear. So I guess I double click it, no color. Now it's starting to look like something. Yep. So, and to make sense out of this, I can turn on some of my inputs to sort of see what I got, right?
Oh no.
Oh no?
Mine does not look anything like yours. Well, it looks a little.
That's because you haven't changed it.
Huh?
You haven't, huh? Let's remove it again. So if I add this to my display, watch what happens. It looks ridiculous. So let me turn my inputs off. This is like ridiculous, right?
So, okay, so remove the log from the table of contents.
No,
And-
I just backed up to show you again what I did.
Oh,
Yeah, I want you to add the lodge values to your map. So add to display,
Right.
right? And once you get there, re-symbolize it. You don't need me to tell you how to do that.
right,
You
okay,
know how to re-symbolize
right.
based
So-
on graduated colors. So
Right.
you do it.
And there's supposed to be a 1 through 12, right?
Yes, ideally.
Okay, got it, I can do that then.
So we should put about 12 classes?
You should ideally have 12. Yep. Or not 12 classes, sorry. You should have 12 unique values. So if I go back to unique values, right, you should have 12 unique values. I'm using a classified color scheme to make it a little easier to see. I'm using 4 classes. I'm choosing, I'll choose hot pink this time. And I'm going to change the 0 class to clear. And now I can see this is starting to make sense, right?
So there are very few ideal.
That's right. That's right. There are
Like
very
3 or
few
4.
ideal locations. Yep. So you're much more likely to see muskrats in the areas that are darker in my model. But you wouldn't be able to see that while you were looking at it as unique values. When you were looking at it like this, you couldn't even really tell.
I think I got it right. Well, so why do I have a 0 and then a 0 through 2 separately?
That's because it's putting the zeros in their own class.
So what color is 0? Just clear?
Yeah. Yep. That's what I've been doing.
Right, but then 0 through 2 is orange, so.
All right.
I like,
I'm coming. I'll help. I promise.
I did all the stuff on the thing and then rewrote the whole model and validated it, and now none of my reclass tools are on except the last one.
Okay, you might need, so Emma had the same problem. You might need to go into each reclass and just add a 2 at the end of the name. Yeah. For
Like each of
some
the
reason,
models reclass, like the green bubbles.
yeah, so you don't have to change the bubbles. Just in here, go
Just
in.
the- okay.
Yeah. In fact, look, I had to do that.
I do that for all of mine. Just on-
Oh, you had to do it for all
That's the way.
the reclasses, right? And just the reclass, not any other tools. Yeah, occasionally it loses track of the fact that it can get rid of old
No, I
things.
got a thing,
So.
I got a thing,
Did it work?
maybe.
I think woo means yes.
Yes, it works like a charm. Hold on. I'm open.
So now we've got, I wish I could just keep going for another hour, but I can't.
We've already overrun.
Yes, we have. We're,
And, you got it, you got it.
there we go.
My thing might be right.
Fortunately, the next chunk, which we'll do on Monday, so that means the beaver model is going to be due later. So no worries about that. But we should have no problem finishing on Monday because the food piece is super easy. All right, so that's where I'm going to leave it. I have to go do a conference call.